Around?
Yes, the rats fight at night loudly, just like human beings.
Afan explains the rats are due to the unconsumed food down in the cafeteria.
Disposal of food down in the canteen that attracts. After food, they come up the stairs and see whether there's more food here.
Why is there so much food being disposed?
It is because it tastes so bad.
Afan chooses to eat either nothing or just bread, instead of having the canteen food. She thinks that factory owners are concerned only with business matters, not in trying to understand the actual conditions of the factory workers. She thinks the owners treat workers as earning tools.
The owner knows nothing. He does not make frequent visits. He thinks that living conditions here are excellent, and he never makes visits. He will not take care of you even if you die. So I think working away from home is just like wandering around. No matter how you feel, no one will take care of you.
Shuman Chek is the manager of this textile factory. He says that
顺德市乐从镇大罗管理区的曾锦旗，1987年从深圳退伍返乡。尽管当时他对养猪一窍不通，身上只有几百元的复员费，但是凭着满腔的热情，他只身去到深圳参加养猪技术培训班，虚心学习养猪技术。第2年，曾锦旗从家人、朋友和镇农办赊到了5万元，在自己家的承包地上搭起了简易的猪舍，办起了养猪场，走上了农业致富的道路。曾锦旗按照市场的需要，重视经营策略。开始时资金不足，他就采取自繁自育，以母猪产崽由少到多、循序渐进的方针。第1年繁育了350头小猪，上市肉猪260头。初战告捷的喜悦，坚定了他在饲养业上大展拳脚的信心。到了1992年，他的养猪量已发展到3061头。去年，他积累了资金，便开始改变方针，采取自繁自育与采购种苗相结合的办法，扩大饲养规模，同时开展多种经营，挖鱼塘饲养鳗鱼。结果，去年全年养猪8130头，养鳗18万2000尾，总收入达898万元。当初一个家庭式的养猪场，随着改革开放的浩荡东风，逐步发展成为初具规模的综合性养殖场。今年，曾锦旗计划养猪11000头，养鳗18万尾。
it's normal for someone to feel lonely when they're away from home for a while. Chun admits she goes out with boys sometimes, to the movies and just to kill time. But she says that the boys here are not ideal husbands.
I do feel people here are not true to others. They pretend to like you just for your money.
Tam Wan Chung knows all about the worries of people like Ah Chun. Tam works as a columnist for a magazine that's aimed at workers from other provinces. Tam's an agony aunt, dispensing advice under a woman's byline. Every day he receives hundreds of letters about love affairs.
A female reader sent this and she writes, "Dear Miss Lam Chiu, I met an undergraduate on a train and I fell in love at first sight. She was working in the same area where he was studying. Later they communicated with letters. She was just wondering whether he was sincere in their love affairs with his sweet words in the letters. She was asking for advice."
Tam says almost all workers who come from remote areas have their own dream for Guangdong.
Almost all our readers have a dream, a very ideal living style. This woman hopes that these university students will be her prince. This is all she thinks about.
Girls send their own photos to the magazine editor every month, hoping to become a cover girl. Tam and some editors are choosing one photo from hundreds. The chosen one would become an idol for the other female workers from out of province.
If we take this photo as offering marriage, this is the workers' ideal of their favorite girl.
The chief editor of the magazine says that all that female workers want is to upgrade their living standard.
This is the typical style they want. For example, keeping a dog. There is always the dream for a higher standard of living.
As he deals with the dreams of these youngsters, Tam encourages them and reminds them to pursue the dreams on one hand, but to be careful on the other.
Love at first sight is not last. That's how I feel to a certain extent. It's not good for this girl to be totally occupied in love affairs. Therefore, I wrote that the more sweet words the man speaks, the more you should be careful.
Not all workers have bad adventures meeting the wrong people. The person who's sitting behind the motorcyclist is Ah Ying. She met her prince in a factory. Ah Ying left her home in a Guangdong mountain area for a China factory in Foshan 5 years ago. She met Ah Chow, an engineer at the same factory, and got married a year ago. Every day, Ah Chow takes his wife to her factory on his new motorcycle. Ah Ying says that the only advantage of working in the factory is to be able to lead a stable life.
Back in the countryside, we only got paid when the crops were sold. But now I get paid regularly every month.
The factory notified the couple that their application for residency has just been accepted by the Foshan government. Ah Ying has just become a legal resident of Foshan. The couple say that they weren't confident when they made their application. They had to pay $7,000, a year's salary for Ah Ying. And they also had to pass other stringent requirements.
It's faster to make our application through the factory.
It's all because of the factory that we got it.
To celebrate Ah Ying's successful application, changing her registration from her home province to Foshan, the couple go to the market to buy more fruit and vegetables for their dinner with Ah Ying's sister. According to Ah Ying, they hadn't thought of being able to change their registration before. She admits that one reason she agreed to marry Ah Chow was his Foshan residency.
Yes, a little bit. It's a lie to deny that. I thought that we were not on the same level as an undergraduate, that I wasn't as good as him.
Ah Ying's sister, Wei, has been in Foshan for 8 years. 6 years ago, she married Ah Lung. She's got 2 children. Her eldest daughter is 5 years old. But Wei and her husband are only temporary residents in Foshan. It's been impossible for them to become permanent residents. Do you admire their successful application?
Sure, that was because they applied early.
Have you ever applied before?
We don't know where and how we should apply for it. There was an indication from the factory that they were selling applications for residency for $8,000, and that only single people could apply, not married couples.
As they're not permanent residents, Wei and her husband get no benefits of full Foshan citizenship. They have to rent a house because they're not entitled to a factory dormitory. They have to pay $200 more every month for their children to go to school. And these two things cost half their monthly salaries. Despite the harsh conditions, they insist they won't go back to the countryside.
Our children were born here, and I want them to start their schooling here. I'll pay for the expensive school. It means I have to eat porridge.
Is the city much better than the countryside?
Oh yes, it's 100 times better.
Wei and Ah Lung are living with a lot of uncertainty these days. Life is a struggle. What do you want to do most?
To buy a house and being able to pay for the children's schooling. In fact, being able to buy a house is not that important. The priority now is to buy 2 residency permits for my 2 daughters.
Undoubtedly, Guangdong province is a flourishing area, a gold mine for some, the engine that drives the dream of an ever more prosperous China. The dream comes at a price for some, for factory workers Ah Quan, Wang Xiufan putting up with bad conditions, for couples like Ah Mui and Ah Lung dealing with an unfair system. But for others like Ah Ying and her husband Ah Chao, there's no downside. The factories of Guangdong are delivering the dream, manufacturing the new urban Chinese lifestyle.